A German shepherd stood in the snow for 3 days, guarding a frozen body no one could touch. 2 men tried to get close. Both left bleeding before they ever reached him. When a veteran stepped forward, the dog didn't attack, didn't move. It just locked eyes with him. Not like a warning, like it was deciding something. Because the man in the snow wasn't supposed to be there, not to him. And hidden beneath that body was a device still alive, waiting for someone to make a mistake. The moment it was touched, a signal went out. Not a call for help, a location. And somewhere far beyond that mountain, someone had already started coming. Sometimes God doesn't erase the past. He brings it back when you're finally strong enough to face what you once walked away from. So before this story begins, where are you watching from? And what would you have done if leaving once already cost someone everything? If this stayed with you, like and subscribe so we can reach 1,000 and keep stories like this alive. Spring had reached the calendar, but not the mountains. Wyoming still wore winter like something it refused to let go. White stretched across the ridgelines, wind carving through it with a cold that didn't care about time or second chances. The sky was clear, almost forgiving. The air wasn't. Reed Calloway stood just below the ridge, boots planted in packed snow that had been disturbed too many times in the last hour. No one came closer. They didn't need to explain why. Jax stood at his left side, silent, weight balanced evenly on all 4 paws. His dark coat absorbed the light, his ears angled forward, not tense, just aware, watching the same thing Reed was watching. The dog. 30 yards ahead, Atlas stood over the body. He didn't move, didn't bark, didn't warn. The man beneath him was frozen into the slope, half covered by drifted snow. Time had already taken him, that much was obvious. But the dog hadn't. 3 days, someone behind Reed said under their breath. Hasn't left him. Reed didn't turn. The voice didn't matter. Only the distance did. Jax shifted slightly, just enough for Reed to feel it through the cold. Presence, not pressure. Reed exhaled slowly. His right hand flexed once, a faint tremor. Gone before anyone else could see it. Then he stepped forward. The sound of snow under his boots carried farther than it should have. Atlas reacted instantly. No bark, no growl, just movement. Fast, direct, precise. The dog launched toward him with a kind of focus Reed hadn't seen in years. Not wild, not defensive. Intentional. Jax tensed, but didn't move. Reed didn't step back, didn't reach for anything. He lowered his center of gravity, 1 foot sliding behind the other, shoulders angled, not squared, not open. Balanced. He kept his eyes on Atlas, not locked, not challenging. Measured. Hold, Reed said quietly. Steady. Atlas didn't stop. The distance collapsed, 10 feet, 5. Then something shifted. Not in the dog's body. In the moment itself. Atlas slowed. Not obedience, not trust. Evaluation. His paws hit harder against the snow as he braked, head lowering slightly, eyes fixed on Reed. Not at his hands, not at his stance. At his face. At something behind it. Reed held still, didn't rush the silence, didn't fill it. Easy, he murmured. For a second, 2, maybe longer, time stretched thin enough to break. Atlas's gaze flicked. Not away. Down. To the body. Then back to Reed. Again, the smallest motion, but deliberate. Comparing. Reed felt something tighten in his chest, sharp, unwanted. Not grief. Recognition. He didn't let it reach his face. Atlas stepped to the side, not retreating, just no longer intercepting. Jax exhaled softly beside him. Reed straightened slowly and continued forward. Atlas circled once, keeping distance, adjusting position like a sentry that had learned patience the hard way. Reed knelt beside the body. Snow brushed away under his gloved hand, revealing a face that had already lost the ability to belong to anything living. No struggle left in it, no story, just stillness. Reed studied it. Then his expression changed, subtly. His jaw tightened, not in surprise, in confirmation. "Aaron Vance," he said under his breath. The name didn't echo. It settled, heavy. Jax moved closer, his shoulder brushing Reed's arm for a fraction of a second. Atlas didn't react to the name, but he reacted to Reed. Reed reached into the man's jacket. The fabric resisted, frozen, stiff, unyielding. He worked it open carefully, slower than necessary, until his fingers brushed something solid beneath. His hand paused, just for a moment. A flicker of hesitation, so brief it could have been mistaken for cold. Then he pulled it free. A compact device, sealed, military grade. Too deliberate to be anything else. Reed stared at it. A memory pressed at the back of his mind, unwelcome, unfinished. His thumb brushed the surface. A soft click. So quiet it barely existed. Then, a faint pulse. Not sound, not exactly, but something in the air shifted. Jax's head snapped up. His entire body went still, not alert in the usual way, but focused, locked onto something unseen. Atlas let out a low, vibrating sound, not a growl, something deeper, older. Reed frowned slightly. The wind moved again across the ridge, carrying nothing but cold and distance. But the silence had changed. It wasn't empty anymore. Reed slid the device into his pocket. This time, his hand lingered there half a second too long. Jax didn't relax. He stayed exactly where he was, watching Reed now, not the field. Atlas moved. One step, to the side, opening space, but not leaving. Reed stood. Snow began to fall again, fine, quiet flakes against a sky that refused to darken. Behind him, the rescue team shifted, uncertain. In front of him, Atlas held position. No aggression, no submission, just presence. Atlas's eyes stayed on Reed, not on the others. Not on the body. Only Reed. Reed turned slightly, enough to signal it was safe to approach, but he didn't fully commit to the gesture. Because something felt off. Not the dog, not the body. Something else. Something already set in motion. Atlas didn't move as the distance behind Reed began to close. He stepped back into place beside the body again, reestablishing the line. Then he looked at Reed one more time, and this time there was no tension in it, no warning, just something colder, clearer. "I'm not stopping you. I'm not trusting you. I'm waiting to see if you walk away again." Snow fell softer at the ranger outpost than it had on the ridge, but the cold here felt sharper, cleaner, like it had nothing left to hide behind. The temporary station sat half buried against the mountain slope, its metal siding creaking under wind pressure. Inside, everything smelled like wet fabric, stale coffee, and tension that hadn't yet found a direction. Aaron Vance's body lay on a reinforced table near the back wall, still wrapped in thermal sheets. The shape beneath them was rigid now, unnatural, final. Atlas hadn't left. He didn't stay close to the people. He stayed close to the body. Every time someone moved too quickly, his eyes tracked them, not with panic, but with calculation. Jax stood near Reed, silent, steady, watching Atlas more than anything else in the room. Maya Bennett moved between radios and paperwork, her dark hair tied back tight, sleeves rolled just above her wrists. She had the posture of someone used to controlling chaos by narrowing it into manageable pieces. "You said he was armed?" she asked without looking up. "Was," Reed replied. "Not anymore." Her eyes flicked once toward the body, then away. Leon Price didn't belong to this kind of place. Even bundled in a worn field jacket, he looked like someone who had spent more time in dim rooms full of screens than in open terrain. His movements were efficient, almost too precise, like he was constantly running quiet calculations in the background. He crouched beside the gear pulled from Aaron's jacket. The waterproof device. Small, military grade. No external markings. Leon didn't touch it immediately. He studied it first, then finally picked it up, rotated it once, twice, and froze. Reed saw it before Leon spoke. That shift, that stillness. "What is it?" Reed asked. Leon exhaled slowly through his nose. "It's not storage," he said. "A beat. It's a beacon." The room tightened. Maya turned sharply. "Define beacon." Leon didn't answer right away. He pressed a recessed panel with his thumb. A faint light flickered, barely visible, then died. "That's all it needed," Leon said quietly. Reed's jaw tightened. Needed for what? Leon looked up, and for the first time, there was no distance in his eyes. "It activates on biometric failure," he said. A pause. "When the carrier dies, it transmits." Silence settled heavy in the station. Even the wind outside seemed to pause. Reed's gaze drifted to Aaron's body, then back to the device. "How long ago?" Leon checked his watch, then the device again. "Hard to say exactly," he said. But judging from internal cycle, he hesitated just enough to make it worse. "Within the last hour." Reed didn't move, but something inside him did. Shifted, locked. He remembered the last time he heard a phrase like that. Federal asset, sensitive recovery, do not interfere. He had stepped back then, followed orders. Watched as a man, someone not so different from Aaron, was taken off a field without explanation. No report ever came back. No name ever surfaced again. Reed blinked once, and the presence snapped back into place. Jax lifted his head slightly, not toward the door, toward the outside, before anyone else reacted. Then came the sound. Low. Engine. Approaching. Maya moved first, crossing to the window, pulling the curtain just enough to see. Her expression didn't change, which made it worse. "Vehicle," she said. "Black SUV." No markings. No hesitation in its approach. It didn't slow like someone unsure of the terrain. It drove like it already knew exactly where to stop. Reed stepped beside her, looking out. The vehicle came to a halt about 30 yards from the station, engine still running. Doors opened. 2 men stepped out. Clean. Too clean for this weather. Leon didn't need to look. "They're here already," he muttered. Then quieter. "We're late." The men walked toward the station without rushing. One slightly ahead, older, controlled. The other behind him, tighter posture, eyes scanning everything like he was cataloging threats. Jax stood. Atlas didn't. Not yet. The knock came sharp, measured, 3 times. Maya looked at Reed. Reed didn't answer right away. He stepped forward and opened the door halfway. Cold air rushed in. The older man gave a small, polite nod. "Mr. Calloway," he said. Reed didn't react, didn't confirm, didn't deny. "We're here to recover federal property," the man continued, voice smooth, almost bored. His eyes moved past Reed, just briefly, toward the interior, toward the table, toward the body. Reed's grip on the door tightened. "Which unit?" he asked. The man smiled faintly. "Doesn't matter." That was enough. Atlas moved. It wasn't fast, it wasn't loud, but suddenly he was there, between Reed and the doorway, body aligned, head low, eyes locked. Not aggressive. Not yet, but absolute. The younger man's hand shifted slightly near his jacket. Not drawing, just close enough. Prepared. Jax stepped forward too. Not beside Atlas, behind Reed, guarding the line. The air changed. Reed didn't look at the men. He looked at Atlas. And for the first time, Atlas didn't glance back at the body. He stayed facing forward. Chose. Reed exhaled once, slow, then spoke. "You're not taking anything from here." The younger man's jaw tightened. The older one didn't move, didn't argue, didn't push. He just watched Reed for a few seconds, long enough to measure something, then gave a slight nod. "Understood," he said. "Too easy." They turned, walked back to the SUV. No urgency, no frustration. That was the worst part. The engine cut, doors closed. The vehicle reversed, then disappeared into the white. No one spoke for several seconds. Leon broke first. "They didn't come to take it," he said quietly. Reed looked at him. Leon's eyes were fixed on the door. "They came to confirm it." Jax remained still, but Atlas didn't relax. He stayed facing the direction the SUV had gone, body tense, listening. Not guarding the dead anymore. Guarding what comes next. Reed turned slowly back toward the table, toward Aaron, toward the device still sitting in Leon's hand. And for the first time, he understood something that settled deep into his bones. The signal wasn't the problem. It was the invitation. And someone had already answered. The storm didn't arrive. It took the mountain. 1 minute the sky was open, the next it folded in on itself, wind dragging snow sideways so hard it erased distance. By the time Reed reached the cabin, the world behind him no longer existed. Just white, just noise, just what was in front of him. Inside, the cabin felt smaller than usual, not because of the walls, because of what had followed them in. Leon didn't waste time. The device hit the table, tools already in his hands, breath steady, movements surgical. "This isn't just a tracker," he said under his breath. "It's layered, buried deep." Maya stood by the window, radio pressed to her ear, listening to nothing but broken static. "No signal," she said. "Everything's dead." Reed didn't respond. His attention was fixed across the room. Atlas. The older German shepherd wasn't resting. He stood near the far wall, angled toward the door, body still, eyes alert, but not searching. Waiting. Jax stayed close to Reed's leg, not touching, but ready. A soft click broke the silence. Leon froze, then slowly leaned closer to the device. "I'm in," he said. The screen flickered. Static. Then, a face. Aaron Vance. Alive. "If you're watching this," the image stuttered, lines tearing through the frame. "Then I didn't make it out a second time." No one spoke. Reed didn't move, but his breathing changed. Aaron looked older than the body they had found, not just in years, in weight, in understanding. "You're probably thinking this is about the mission," Aaron said, a faint, tired smile. "It's not." The wind slammed into the cabin, rattling the glass. Inside, everything held still. "You remember the explosion?" And just like that, Reed was gone. Heat. Fire chewing through steel. Dust thick enough to choke on. A countdown screaming in his ear. 9 years ago. "Vance is trapped. Structure's collapsing. You've got 30 seconds. Override or he's gone." Reed saw it. The corridor folding in. Aaron pinned. No clean path. Override meant risk. Override meant losing everyone. The timer hit 29. "You can still reach him!" someone shouted. Reed's hand hovered. He made the call. "Fall back! No override!" Silence. Then Aaron's voice, steady. "Copy." Gone. Back in the cabin, Aaron's voice cut through the present. "You made the right call." Reed's jaw tightened. Aaron leaned closer to the camera, eyes sharp, focused. "But you decided who gets to be expendable." Something inside Reed slipped. Not outward, not visible, but it moved. His fingers curled slowly against the edge of the table, too tight, knuckles whitening. A thin line of blood appeared where his palm pressed against a splintered edge. He didn't notice. "I don't blame you," Aaron continued. "And somehow, that made it worse. Because I would have done the same thing." A pause. "But I didn't die." Leon stopped breathing. Maya turned from the window, slower this time. Aaron's expression changed, subtle, dangerous. "They pulled me out," he said. "Not our people." Static flickered. They were already there. The storm outside deepened, wind howling like something circling. "They called it recovery," Aaron said. "Containment." A humorless exhale. "I believed that for about 6 hours." The video glitched, recovered. They weren't watching the site, a beat. They were watching us. Leon whispered, "Jesus." Reed didn't react, couldn't. "They ran tests," Aaron continued. "Decision-making under pressure, command integrity." His eyes locked onto the lens. They wanted to see who gets left behind. Silence filled the cabin. Heavy, final. Aaron leaned closer, voice lower now. "If you're seeing this," a pause, "they already know you're next." The video cut. Nothing moved. Jax stepped closer to Reed. Slow, careful. Reed didn't look at him, didn't move. Blood dripped once from his hand onto the wooden floor. Soft, barely a sound. Across the room, Atlas was watching. Not guarded. Not aggressive. Waiting. Outside, a flicker. Maya's voice came sharp this time. "Movement!" Reed turned. Through the storm, faint shapes. Not one, Suv. 2. No headlights now, just dark forms cutting through white. Leon moved toward the window. Slow, measured. "They're not approaching," he said. "They're positioning." A brief sweep of light cut across the side of the cabin. Not bright, infrared. Gone in a second, but enough. "They're watching us," Maya said quietly. Reed nodded once. "They always were." The room held, tight, controlled. Jax's ears flicked, tracking something outside. Atlas didn't move, still focused on Reed. Reed turned to him, really looked, and this time, he didn't hold the gaze. Just for a second, he couldn't. Then forced himself back. "You stayed," Reed said, voice low, rougher now. Atlas didn't react. Reed swallowed. "You stayed with him." The storm pressed harder. The cabin groaned under the weight of it. Reed exhaled slowly. Everything aligned. Aaron, the signal, the men outside, and the dog in front of him. "They didn't come for him," Reed said quietly. Leon looked over. Reed's eyes didn't leave Atlas. "They came for the man who made the call." Silence. Outside, the storm swallowed everything. Inside, no one moved. And Atlas, for the first time, lowered his head, just slightly. Not in submission, in recognition. The storm didn't rage. It pressed, like something heavy leaning down from the sky, flattening sound, swallowing distance, forcing everything smaller than it deserved to be. By the time they reached the gas station, the mountain wasn't a place anymore. It was a trap. The structure stood broken and skeletal, its roof sagging under years of neglect, windows hollowed out into dark, empty sockets. No cover, no escape, just space. Reed stopped first, not because he didn't know what was ahead, because he already did. Jax stood at his side, body low, steady despite the stiffness creeping into his injured leg. Atlas stayed behind, not distant, just outside the line. Leon scanned the horizon, breath short. "We shouldn't be here." Maya didn't argue. She just watched the open snowfield like it might move. It did. A figure stepped out from the side of the building, then another shape behind, then stillness again. Victor Hale walked forward. He didn't hurry, didn't need to. The storm bent around him like it understood something the others didn't. Reed. The name landed flat. Familiar. Owned. Reed didn't answer. Victor stopped 10 feet away, close enough to see everything, far enough to stay untouched. His eyes dropped briefly to Jax, then shifted. Atlas. A flicker. Interest. Then back to Reed. "You always did pick your ground carefully," Victor said. A faint breath. "Even when you didn't realize it." Maya's voice cut low. "Who is this?" Reed didn't look at her. "My C.O." The words hung in the air longer than they should have. Victor tilted his head slightly. "Former," he corrected. Leon stepped back, tension snapping tighter. "We're surrounded," he muttered. 3, maybe 4 positions. Victor didn't deny it, didn't confirm it. "You opened something that doesn't belong to you," he said. Reed held his gaze. "No," he said quietly. "I stopped pretending it didn't exist." Victor smiled, not warm, not amused. "You didn't leave him behind, Reed," he said. A pause. "You proved the system works." The words hit harder than the wind. Reed didn't react, but something in his eyes did. Victor stepped closer, 1 step, We needed to know, he continued, voice calm, almost instructional. Who would follow orders, and who would hesitate? A beat. You didn't hesitate. Silence. Jax shifted. Atlas didn't. Maya looked between them, understanding beginning to settle, and not liking what it meant. Leon broke first. We can end this, he said, pulling the device from his jacket. Give it to him. Walk away. Maya snapped toward him. You really believe that? Leon didn't look at her. I believe staying here gets us killed. The fracture opened. Clean. Victor watched it happen. Patient. That's the difference, he said quietly. Fear makes people run. Truth makes them turn on each other. The wind dropped again. Brief. Unnatural. Reed moved. Not fast, not dramatic. He walked to the truck, pulled out the fuel can. Leon's voice sharpened. Reed, what are you doing? Reed didn't answer. He poured it over the hood, the doors, the ground. Maya stepped back. If you burn that, we lose everything. Reed struck the lighter. Fire exploded upward. Heat punched through the cold, turning snow to steam, flames clawing into the storm like they were trying to escape it. Victor didn't flinch. Reed held the device for 1 second longer, then dropped it into the fire. Leon lunged forward. That was our leverage! Reed didn't look at him. It was their leash. The flames roared. Behind them, movement. Gunfire cracked. Snow erupted near their feet. Down! Maya shouted. The second shot came faster, closer. Jax moved. He didn't hesitate, didn't calculate. He stepped into the line. Impact. The force hit his side, spinning him half a step, but he caught himself, held, still between Reed and the open field. Reed's voice broke. Jax! The dog staggered, breath sharp, leg trembling. Another shot. Jax tried to step forward again, failed, still tried. Reed grabbed him, hands tight. Stay with me, stay. Jax didn't listen. He tried to move again, tried to stand where he was supposed to be, where he always had been. Reed's voice cut through everything, raw. Stand down! The command hit harder than the gunfire. Jax froze. For a second, he didn't understand. Then, slowly, reluctantly, he stepped back, collapsed, still watching Reed, still ready, even now. Reed's chest tightened, breath catching. 9 years ago, another voice, another command, another man left behind. Not this time. Leon stumbled back toward them, device in hand, half melted, flickering. It's damaged, he said. Signals barely holding. A beat. We can send one thing. Maya's voice broke in. Then call it in, now. Leon shook his head. Or upload the data. Silence. Maya looked straight at Reed. If you do that, no one is coming. No rescue, no backup, no way out. The storm pressed in harder. Reed didn't answer. He looked down at Jax, bleeding, still trying to rise. Then, Atlas. The older dog had moved, 1 step forward, then stopped, eyes locked on Reed. Not helping, not attacking, waiting, judging. Reed exhaled, slow. 30 seconds. 9 years ago. Now, less. This time, Reed said quietly, I don't choose who gets left behind. He looked up. Uploaded. Maya closed her eyes, just once. Leon didn't hesitate again. He triggered the transfer. The device flickered, data crawling upward, fragile, exposed. Gunfire intensified, closer now. Victor stepped back into the storm, watching, not stopping them, letting it happen. Atlas didn't move again, didn't interfere, just watched Reed stand there, in the open, not forcing, not running, choosing. And, for the first time, Atlas lowered his head. Not submission, recognition. The upload didn't end with a sound. No confirmation, no signal tone. Just a faint flicker in Leon's device. And then the screen went dark. For a few seconds, no one spoke. The storm had thinned into a low whisper, wind dragging snow across the broken ground like it was trying to erase what had just happened. Reed stood still, not scanning, not bracing, just there. Victor Hale was gone. No retreat, no threat, just absence, too clean to trust. Leon exhaled slowly, eyes still locked on the dead screen. It's out, he said. Not relief, just fact. Maya leaned back against the cracked wall, one hand pressed against her side. Blood had soaked through the fabric, but she kept her breathing steady, controlled. They'll see it, she whispered. People will know. Leon shook his head faintly. They'll try to bury it again. A beat. But not like before. Reed didn't answer. Because behind him, Jax had stopped moving. The world didn't react, didn't pause, didn't care. But something inside Reed went completely still. He turned slowly, walked back through the snow. Jax lay where he had fallen, body angled toward the fight, toward the threat that no longer existed. Even now, he faced it. Reed dropped to one knee, then the other. His hand pressed against Jax's neck. Warm, fading. No breath. Reed's jaw tightened, but he didn't break, didn't rush it. You held the line, he said quietly. The words didn't echo. They didn't need to. Behind him, Atlas stepped closer. Not fully, just enough to see. Reed didn't look at him, not yet, because this moment wasn't for anyone else. They buried Aaron first. The ground fought them, frozen under the surface, resisting every strike like it didn't want to give anything back. Leon dug with mechanical focus. Maya worked through pain without a word. Reed didn't stop. Each movement was controlled, deliberate. 9 years too late. When they lowered Aaron into the ground, Reed stood there longer than necessary. Not for ceremony, for acknowledgement. I left you, he said, voice low. Not defensive, not apologizing. Just truth. The wind passed over them without answer. Then, Jax. This time, Reed slowed. Not because it was harder, because it mattered more. He measured the distance between the graves, adjusted it. Close enough, not the same. Maya watched him. There was something different now. Not the man who made decisions fast, the man who lived with them after. Halfway through, Leon stopped digging, looked up. They'll come back, he said. Reed drove the shovel into the frozen ground, hard. Then they'll have to do it where people can see, he answered. Leon studied him for a moment, then nodded. Maya shifted, breath tightening. "He didn't just save us," she said quietly. She looked at Jax. "He chose not to lose anyone else." Reed didn't respond, but his grip on the shovel tightened. When it was done, he knelt again. Jax's collar rested in his hand, worn leather, edges softened by years. Reed turned it once, then placed it at the head of the grave. He rested his hand on the snow. Still. And for the first time, his voice almost broke. "Stay." The word hung in the air. No response, no movement. Just silence. And that was the point. Behind him, Atlas moved, step by step, until he stood at the edge of both graves. Close now, closer than before. Reed finally looked at him. No hostility, no fear. Just something harder. Judgment. Atlas held his gaze, long enough that the air itself felt tight. Then, very slowly, the dog lowered his head. Not submission, not obedience. Acknowledgement. Reed exhaled. "You're free," he said. No command, no expectation. Just release. Atlas didn't move. The wind picked up again, brushing snow across the ground, soft enough to almost hide the graves. Reed stood, turned, walked away. No whistle, no call. Because this time, he wasn't asking anything to follow him. Halfway down the slope, he stopped, not from a sound, from instinct. He turned his head. Atlas was still there, between the graves, watching. Then, the dog turned first, and walked away. No hesitation, no looking back. Reed didn't follow, because now he understood. Days later, he came back. The storm had passed. The sky was too clear. The snow lay untouched, clean, indifferent. The graves were barely visible, soft shapes beneath white. Atlas was gone. Reed stepped closer, looked down. Tracks. A single line leading away, not circling, not waiting, leaving. He followed them for a few steps, then stopped, because the tracks didn't end. They simply disappeared. No turn, no break, just swallowed by white. Leon's voice echoed in his memory. "They don't forget." Reed looked up at the empty horizon. "Neither do I," he said. He turned, walked back, and this time, he didn't hesitate. He didn't look back. Sometimes the hardest thing in life isn't what we've been through. It's the moment we decide whether to stay or walk away. That dog didn't wait for a command. He waited for a man who wouldn't leave again. And maybe in our own lives, we don't get to undo what's already happened. But we do get one moment, just one, to choose differently. Maybe that's where grace meets us. Not in perfection, but in the courage to stay when it finally matters. If this story meant something to you, tell me, what is one moment in your life you wish you had chosen differently? And if you believe stories like this should be heard, consider subscribing so we can keep telling the ones that matter. May you have the strength to stay when everything in you wants to walk away.